And so Amnon foolishly is listening to the bad advice of his friend rather than the good advice of his sister. In verse 14, he would not listen to her, and being stronger than she, he violated her and lie with her. So this language hints of physical force, being stronger than her. We see that Tamar would have used logic, would have used her words, but she certainly resisted bodily as well. And it happens. This is not the only rape in the Bible. Sad to say, it's something that we see in Genesis 34. It's something that we see in Judges chapter 19. It's something that we see throughout the pages of Scripture. It's often described in all of its ugliness for us to see it as what it is. The Bible uses beautiful words to describe beautiful things. The Bible uses ugly words to describe ugly things, that we might know and be reminded and be surprised at these things, that we're not shocked. And then as we're going to see this disgraceful thing take place and the terrible aftermath that the rest of our section looks at, we're really going to see, I suppose, the need for God's grace in the midst of disgraceful and ugly situations. And so here this is rape. This is also more than rape. This is incest. And this damaging, this is just incredibly damaging. This is also not the only time. This is the third time in the books of Samuel that we see an abuse of power over and over again. In the beginning, we see Hophni and Phinehas, these powerful priests, take advantage of people. Recently, we saw David, their dad, use his position of power and influence to take advantage of Bathsheba. And then here now, the next generation is just passing on the same thing. It's terrible. It's tragic. And I wish that it stopped with that generation. March 20th of this year, so a couple of weeks ago, a study was released speaking about UCC. Perhaps you saw the headlines. It was saying that nearly 1 out of 7 students at University College Cork say that they've been the victim of rape or a serious sexual assault, although it's feared that the actual number is higher. Rape and sexual assault are one of the most underreported crimes. And so with every poll or research or whatever, it's safe to add to that, to assume that this is underreported. And like I said, this was published a couple weeks ago, and so it was kind of doing the rounds online. I saw it pop up in a few different news feeds, and the comments under it were always, I am shocked, I had no idea. And as I read that, I hated to say it to myself, but I was like, oh, that's actually not shocking. That fits with, the national average. That fits with the statistics. And so, what's said is that 1 in 4 women will at some point in their lives experience some form of unwanted sexual assault in their lifetime, and 1 in 6 men. And so the accounts of 1 in 7 UCC students, it sadly fits the international average. And in my line of work, I suppose, it's something that I deal with a lot. And so I'm familiar with statistics. I'm familiar with all that. And so while it is rightly shocking, I read it and thought, yeah, that's sad and that is typical. And it finds its way on the graph. Certainly not saying that it's appropriate, but just that it is statistically reasonable. And so we're going to see in the next few verses the effects that this takes place on Tamar and the hope that she has that someone is going to listen to her, that someone is going to care for her, that someone is going to show grace to her. And so I'm addressing, people right now, some of whom identify with Tamar, regardless of gender. I'm also addressing people here that are going to be like the people that she looks to for some source of comfort or hope. And so we all have something to learn from the next bit. She's looking for help and finding none.